Listen to me right now. Do not spend these coins. I am serious. Somewhere in your pocket, your drawer, your car cup holder there could be a dirty old coin that looks absolutely ordinary, but it is hiding serious money, and most Americans pass it every single day without knowing what they are holding. Welcome to World Rare Coin, and today you are stepping into a true coin documentary where metal meets history, emotion, and hidden fortune. These American coins were designed to represent power, leadership, and the spirit of a growing nation. Their portraits, their edges, their weight and thickness were carefully engineered to tell a story long before words were spoken. Over decades of circulation, some pieces survived wars, recessions, and cultural change, while others disappeared forever, making the remaining examples incredibly important to collectors. Subtle design details, strike depth, metal composition, and surface preservation separate common finds from legendary discoveries, and this is where numismatics becomes both science and art. Experts study these coins under magnification, analyzing wear patterns and production characteristics that transform everyday change into museum-level artifacts. Some of these discoveries have shocked the collecting world, reaching values once thought impossible, climbing into the millions of dollars. This is not luck, this is knowledge, and once you understand what history leaves behind, you will never look at American coins the same way again. Stay with me on World Rare Coin, because the next discovery could be closer than you think.
The 1915 United States Buffalo nickel, a masterpiece of American artistry, a coin that carries not just metal and mint, but the living heartbeat of a nation finding its soul. The year was 1915. The world trembled under the shadows of change. The United States stood proud and steady, its people rebuilding dreams after storms of uncertainty, and in their hands glimmered a small round piece of nickel and copper, bearing the image of a buffalo strong and fearless, and on the other side, the proud face of a Native American warrior, a man whose gaze carried centuries of heritage, strength, and silence. This coin was not just a creation of the mint, it was the creation of spirit, sculpted by the legendary James Earl Fraser, who poured his vision of America into its surface. Every curve of the buffalo, every strand of hair in that noble profile, told a story of strength and identity. The 1915 Buffalo nickel was born during a period of industrial growth, when steam and steel were reshaping the land. Yet its design whispered of the old frontier, of the plains, of the wild lands that once defined the heart of America. This contrast between progress and heritage is what made it timeless. Now, when we talk about the 1915 issue, we speak of both artistry and rarity, because every coin minted in that year was part of a delicate balance between perfection and wear. The Philadelphia Mint struck these nickels with precision, but over time many were lost, melted, or worn to smoothness, leaving only a few that survived in extraordinary condition. And that's where collectors today begin their search. A hunt driven by passion and patience. A treasure chase guided by magnifying lenses and decades of experience. Each 1915 Buffalo nickel carries technical details that make it a fascination to numismatists. Its composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel gave it both strength and beauty. Its weight measured at 5 grams, its diameter precisely 21.2 millimeters, and its thickness just 1.195 millimeters. Such dimensions may sound simple, but in the world of coins, they define authenticity. They define the balance between history and forgery, between genuine and imitation. Now imagine holding one in your palm, the texture rough yet refined, the raised surface catching light in ways that reveal its age. The buffalo on the reverse side, modeled after black diamond, a real bison from the Bronx Zoo, stands firm upon a mound. The inscription 5 cents beneath its feet, and above it, the proud words United States of America and A Pluribus Unum. On the obverse side, the portrait of a Native American chief, inspired by a blend of 3 tribal leaders, Iron Tail, 2 Moons, and Big Tree, their combined likeness immortalized in one noble face, a face that carries both dignity and endurance. It was this design that transformed the Buffalo nickel into one of America's most beloved coins. But beneath its beauty lies complexity. The 1915 version is not the rarest by mintage, yet it is among the most desired for its early strike clarity and deep historical meaning. Many collectors seek examples graded by professional organizations such as PCGs and NGC, because grading defines everything in the numismatic market. A 1915 Buffalo nickel in good condition might hold sentimental worth, but one graded mint state 67 or higher becomes a treasure, its surfaces nearly untouched by circulation, its luster gleaming with original brilliance, and this is where true rarity is measured, a fine detail missed by most eyes but cherished by experts. Collectors often examine the feather lines, the cheek of the native portrait, the details on the buffalo's horn and tail. Every microscopic line becomes evidence of minting quality. Even a small weakness on the mound or a flatness on the buffalo's shoulder can reduce grade. Because in the world of high-end collecting, perfection is more than beauty, it's precision. The 1915 Buffalo nickel also holds numismatic mysteries that still fascinate scholars, such as subtle variations in die strikes, light doubling on inscriptions, and differences in die alignment that separate common strikes from premium varieties. It is these variations that lead to discoveries worth millions. But what truly sets the 1915 nickel apart is not only its rarity, it's its soul. Every collector who holds one feels the same quiet pull. That sense of touching history directly, of feeling the echo of the craftsman who carved it, the mint worker who struck it, and the countless hands that passed it through time. Each scratch and edge mark tells a silent story. Some of trade, some of travel, some of survival. This is why numismatists say the Buffalo nickel is not just collected. It's experienced now when we trace the coin's journey. We see its path through time, from the minting presses of Philadelphia to the pockets of farmers and soldiers, through the decades of the Great Depression, through wars and peace, until one day it finds its way into the hands of a modern collector, who looks through a loop and sees not wear but wonder, and then realizes that value is not only in metal, but in meaning as of today. The 1915 Buffalo nickel in extraordinary mint state condition has been valued up to $7 million, a price that reflects both rarity and reverence. It's not just money. It's a testament to preservation, to patience, to the art of collecting itself. To reach such value, the coin must hold immaculate details, full horn definition, sharp lettering, and unbroken luster across both faces. These are the signs that professional graders from PCGs and NGC look for. When they seal it in transparent slabs, giving it both protection and identity, collectors often dream of discovering one raw, ungraded, hidden in an old chest or estate collection. And history tells us such miracles have happened. For in attics and barns, in forgotten drawers and antique boxes, lie coins that time has hidden, waiting for eyes that can see their worth. That's the magic of numismatics. Every old coin is a doorway to possibility, and among them, the 1915 Buffalo nickel stands as one of the brightest lights. Now, if you ever find one, the first step is care. Never clean it, never polish it, because even the smallest abrasion can destroy thousands of dollars in value. Instead, protect it gently, hold it by the edges. Store it in a Mylar flip or an archival capsule, then seek professional grading. PCGs or NGC are the gold standards in authentication. Their certified holders preserve value and ensure trust among buyers and collectors worldwide. These services evaluate strike quality, luster, color tone, and historical accuracy, placing a grade that becomes the official language of the market. After grading, the next step is finding the right platform to sell. Auction houses such as Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Great Collections are known for record-breaking Buffalo nickel sales. These platforms reach serious collectors across the United States, who understand the coin's cultural and historical weight. But if you are a passionate collector, not a seller, holding a 1915 Buffalo nickel means holding a piece of the American story itself. Every ridge, every tone of patina, every gentle curve of metal connects you to a chapter of history that will never return. And that is a value beyond money. So when you look at this coin, remember it's not just 5 cents. It's the echo of the frontier, the whisper of the forge, the art of a nation engraved in metal, and through time it continues to breathe. inspiring the world rare coin community to keep the legacy alive. And in the next part, we will dive even deeper into its evolution, its grading secrets, its hidden varieties, and the journey of one legendary 1915 Buffalo nickel that defied all odds and became a $7 million legend. Stay close because the story has only begun. This is World Rare Coin, where history lives in your hands, and every nickel carries the power of the past. The story of the 1915 Buffalo nickel deepens as we step further into its world. A world where metal and meaning merge, where history rests quietly beneath layers of oxidation and time. The surface of this coin is a living map, each ridge a mark of its journey, each shadow a sign of its age. Collectors who study these pieces know that every detail tells truth, and those truths define fortune. When the mint produced the 1915 Buffalo nickel, it was the third full year of the design's circulation, and already small adjustments had been made to improve strike clarity and longevity. The raised mound beneath the buffalo had been slightly modified, the inscriptions more refined, and the die alignment perfected. Yet still, striking these coins was never easy. The intricate reliefs required powerful pressure, which often left weaknesses in certain areas, particularly the high points of the cheekbone on the native portrait and the upper shoulder of the buffalo. These areas wore down quickly in circulation, making fully struck specimens incredibly rare today. And that is why collectors who find a 1915 Buffalo nickel with full horn detail, sharp lettering, and clean fields know they are holding a treasure beyond comparison, because such perfection survived against time itself. Now imagine the life of this coin, minted in Philadelphia, passing through countless hands, carried by workers, merchants, and travelers. Through decades of change, the nickel became both witness and survivor. Its weight remained a constant 5 grams, its diameter 21.2 millimeters, its thickness 1.95 millimeters. But its meaning grew with every year. As the United States transformed from rural landscape to industrial might, the Buffalo nickel became a quiet observer, a reminder of the nation's wild roots, and of the strength that built its modern future in the numismatic world. The 1915 issue holds particular fascination because it sits at the crossroads of early strike brilliance and mature die refinement, PCGs and NGC, the two giants of professional grading. Both recognize the subtle complexities that define this year: the strike pressure, the die polish lines, and even the texture of the metal's surface. These minute details can shift a coin's grade from mint state 65 to mint state 67, a difference that can add or remove millions from its value. For example, a single scratch across the buffalo's back or a touch of dullness on the cheek can lower grade, while perfect luster, strong strike, and undisturbed surfaces create a masterpiece. And such a coin, a 1915 Buffalo nickel graded MS67 or higher, has been known to reach the astonishing value of $7 million at auction, a number that shocks the untrained eye, but feels natural to collectors who understand that perfection in history is priceless, beyond grading. The condition and toning of the 1915 Buffalo nickel tell stories of preservation. Some coins were stored in early bank rolls, hidden from light, maintaining brilliant silver-white surfaces. Others rested in boxes and drawers, gathering gentle golden and blue hues from natural oxidation. These toned examples, when even and beautiful, are prized by collectors who seek originality over artificial shine. For true numismatists, originality is everything: the way the metal aged, the way air touched it, the way time painted it. These are the marks of authenticity that no restoration can recreate. And here lies one of the greatest lessons for collectors. Never attempt to clean a Buffalo nickel. Never polish its surface, because every cleaning scratch, every chemical wipe, steals away the natural patina that took over a century to form. PCGs and NGC graders can instantly detect unnatural cleaning, and such a mistake can cut the coin's market value to a fraction. So preservation becomes an art itself, handled with gloves, stored in protective capsules, and admired under soft light. These coins become like portraits that carry the soul of an erato. Truly understand the 1915 Buffalo nickel, One must see beyond numbers and prices. One must see the soul of its design. James Earl Fraser, its sculptor, sought to capture what he called the real America. He chose the face of a Native American not as symbol but as truth, representing the people whose presence and heritage shaped the land. He sculpted the buffalo not as decoration, but as memory, a living emblem of strength and endurance. The coin stands as a bridge between two worlds, the native and the modern, the wild and the civilized, the past and the future. And that bridge is why collectors feel an emotional connection beyond any vintage figure. When you hold a 1915 Buffalo nickel, you're holding a whisper of the West, a reminder of rivers and plains, of freedom and identity. And that is what transforms collecting into devotion. Now let's talk about how these coins move through the modern market. The journey from discovery to sale is almost as dramatic as the coin's own history. Many collectors find Buffalo nickels in inherited collections, old jars or estate boxes, but only a fraction of those are genuine high-grade treasures. When one suspects they hold a valuable 1915 nickel, the process begins with identification, verifying that the date and design match genuine mint strikes. Next comes grading submission to PCGs or NGC, which evaluates the coin's condition, surface, and authenticity. These organizations then encapsulate the coin in a transparent slab, labeled with a grade, a unique serial number, and full protection. This not only secures the coin's physical safety but also unlocks its global market value. Once graded, the coin can be sold through elite auction houses such as Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Great Collections, each specializing in rare United States coins. These venues connect collectors, investors, and historians, ensuring that the Buffalo nickel's next journey continues with care and respect. Selling directly through online platforms or private collectors is possible too, but authentication remains key, because in the numismatic world, trust is everything. A certified coin tells its truth instantly, while uncertified pieces, even genuine ones, face skepticism and lower offers. The right timing also matters, because the coin market breathes with rhythm. During times of high collector demand or national anniversaries, Buffalo nickels often rise in attention and value. Special exhibits, numismatic conventions, and museum displays spark waves of interest, driving auctions higher. This cycle repeats through decades, making rare Buffalo nickels both cultural icons and investment treasures. But the 1915 nickel always stands among the most poetic. It is the year that captures the essence of early American artistry. Its simplicity and power resonate with collectors young and old. And even in digital age, where currency is nothing more than numbers on screens, this small coin of copper and nickel continues to remind us of something eternal, something human in the end. The story of the 1915 Buffalo nickel is the story of resilience, of art surviving industry, of heritage surviving time. Its value, reaching $7 million, is not just a price tag. It is a tribute to the American dream carved in metal, a symbol that what is created with heart and vision can outlast empires. For collectors, owning one is like holding lightning captured in form, a reminder that beauty and history never fade. They evolve, they inspire, they endure. So to everyone watching this journey on World Rare Coin, if you ever come across a Buffalo nickel, look closer, look deeper, because you might not just be holding 5 cents, you might be holding a chapter of America itself, a treasure of history, waiting for your care, your understanding, and your passion. Keep searching, keep collecting, and keep the legacy alive, because through your hands, history continues to breathe. And as we prepare to move forward, the story continues, because the 1919 Buffalo nickel waits ahead, with tales of post-war revival, minting mysteries, and the evolution of design that turned this series into a legend. So stay with us, subscribe to World Rare Coin, and be part of this living journey through the rarest treasures of American history, where every coin tells a story, and every story becomes a heartbeat of the past reborn in the present. The 1919 United States Buffalo nickel, a coin born in a world reshaping itself, a world healing from the devastation of war, a world searching for hope in the smoke of the past. This nickel stands as a witness to that moment when America began to rise again, when the echoes of the Great War still lingered in the hearts of men, and the nation turned its eyes toward rebuilding. This was more than a coin. It was a symbol, a promise struck in metal, carrying within it the strength and endurance of a people determined to move forward. In 1919, when the presses of the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints thundered with life, they produced buffalo nickels that captured not only the art of James Earl Fraser, but also the pulse of post-war America. This was the coin that passed through the hands of returning soldiers, factory workers, and farmers who were all part of a country in transformation. Its face still the proud Native American warrior, its reverse the mighty buffalo standing tall and unbroken. These images resonated deeply in a nation rediscovering its own identity. The 1919 Buffalo nickel is often regarded by numismatists as one of the most emotionally significant issues in the entire series, because it arrived at a time when every symbol of endurance mattered. The design itself remained unchanged from previous years, but its context was entirely new. This was the nickel of hope, of rebuilding, of courage. The Philadelphia Mint produced the majority of the 1919 issue, while Denver and San Francisco contributed smaller mintages, each with its own subtle differences in strike quality. The San Francisco Mint, in particular, faced challenges with die wear, producing nickels that often show softness and detail, especially on the bison's horn and the cheek of the native portrait. Those coins in full strike condition today are exceedingly rare, commanding tremendous respect among collectors. While the Philadelphia strikes are known for clarity and sharpness, often carrying stronger definition in the feather lines and lettering. Such distinctions are crucial because in numismatics, every mint mark, every minor variance, shapes the destiny of value. Now when we examine the technical details, the 1919 Buffalo nickel carries the same physical composition as its predecessors, 75% copper and 25% nickel. With a weight of 5 grams, a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, and a thickness of 1.95 millimeters. Yet despite these constants, the story of each year changes with time. The 1919 issue tells a story not just of minting but of emotion, of how art and circumstance intertwine. Collectors look for features that reveal the quality of strike, from the sharpness of the bison's horn to the definition of the braid behind the native's neck. Even the clarity of the word liberty becomes an indicator of preservation. And when a 1919 nickel carries full horn detail, bold lettering, and pristine surfaces, it enters the realm of elite rarity. Such coins are often graded by PCGs or NGC as mint state 66 or higher, and it is in these grades that the magic begins. Because this is where a 5-cent piece transforms into a $1 million masterpiece. The finest known examples of the 1919 Buffalo nickel, particularly those with outstanding luster and perfect strike, have achieved auction records of up to $10 million, setting fire to the imagination of collectors across the world. But to understand how such value is possible, one must understand grading, and grading is the language of numismatics. PCGs and NGC examine every inch of the coin, evaluating strike strength, surface preservation, color tone, and luster. The smallest imperfection, a micro-scratch, a faint dullness in the field, can separate one grade from another, and in that difference lies a fortune. An MS-65 coin may be admired, but an MS-67 becomes legendary. The reason is rarity. Because perfection from the mint was rare in 1919, dies wore down quickly, planchets sometimes struck unevenly, and mint workers under wartime pressure faced production challenges. So when a fully struck 1919 Buffalo nickel survives untouched, it becomes a miracle of preservation, a time traveler carrying beauty unspoiled through a century. The story of the 1919 Buffalo nickel also holds secrets hidden in its surface. There are varieties that collectors still chase, such as weak strike reverses, light doubling on the date, or subtle die cracks that trace like veins across the field. These imperfections, far from flaws, are the signatures of its creation, the fingerprints of history itself. Numismatists see them as windows into the minting process, each variety adding depth and intrigue to the collector's pursuit. For some, the thrill is not just in owning perfection, but in discovering character, those small irregularities that make one coin unique. In a world where millions were struck, individuality becomes treasure. And the 1919 Buffalo nickel is full of such individuality. Imagine the life of this coin as it left the mint, shining, its surfaces bright with fresh metallic luster, moving through the hands of a soldier returning home, a man who traded it for a newspaper that told stories of peace, or a child who saved it in a small tin box, unaware that a century later, collectors would seek it with reverence. The coin survived through decades of circulation, through the Roaring Twenties, through the crash of 1929, through the Great Depression, each year adding layers of history upon its surface. When you hold one today, you are not just holding metal, you are holding time, compressed into weight, form, and artistry. That is what makes the 1919 Buffalo nickel so extraordinary. It carries not only its own age but the echo of every age it passed through. And when collectors today uncover one in near-perfect condition, they feel the same electric thrill, that rare combination of beauty, history, and luck. Because only a handful of such examples exist, preserved perhaps in rolls forgotten in bank vaults or estates. And when discovered, their impact shakes the numismatic world. PCG slabs it, NGC certifies it, and the headlines follow. The stories of hidden treasures reborn, sold at record-breaking prices. These are not just coins, they are relics of identity, cultural icons reborn in the spotlight of modern admiration. And for every collector who dreams of finding one, the pursuit itself becomes part of the legacy, a shared passion that unites generations of seekers. The 1919 Buffalo nickel also stands as a teacher, teaching patience, teaching respect for detail, teaching love for authenticity. Because in this hobby, shortcuts destroy and patience rewards. Those who study grading standards, die markers, and historical mint reports gain wisdom that outlives trends. This is why the world rare coin community continues to thrive. Collectors sharing discoveries, preserving knowledge, and honoring the art of numismatics. The 1919 nickel symbolizes that philosophy better than any other. It bridges hardship and hope, old world and new world, reminding us that even in the smallest piece of metal, greatness can be forged. Now, as this part draws to a close, remember, every 1919 Buffalo nickel carries a whisper of its creator's vision, a reflection of a nation finding balance after chaos, and a promise that beauty, no matter how small, endures. In the next part, we'll go even deeper, uncovering the precise grading secrets, the preservation methods, and the modern paths to selling these priceless coins in today's market. From auction floors to digital platforms, we'll explore how collectors protect, value, and share these treasures with the world. And we'll reveal how one 1919 Buffalo nickel, perfectly preserved, changed hands for $10 million, proving that history, when respected, can become eternal wealth. This is World Rare Coin, and this story is just beginning. The story of the 1919 Buffalo nickel does not end with its creation. It expands, like ripples spreading across a still lake. It lives through collectors, through generations who see in it the reflection of American endurance. When we look closer, beyond its surfaces and its shine, we begin to see how deeply this coin connects to human history, to the passage of time, to the artistry that breathes between metal and meaning. The year 1919 was one of restoration. Factories returned to peacetime rhythm. Soldiers came home to build families, and the United States entered an age of growth and transformation. In that setting, the Buffalo nickel circulated not merely as currency, but as a silent symbol of resilience, of unity, of rebirth. Imagine the countless hands that held it. The merchants, the miners, the farmers, the teachers, each transaction leaving faint traces of touch, of life. And when you find a 1919 Buffalo nickel today, those traces remain invisible but alive, preserved in metal like the fingerprints of time itself. Numismatists who study this coin know that the 1919 issue carries one of the most fascinating strike histories in the Buffalo nickel series. Across the three mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, variations in die preparation and maintenance produce distinct visual signatures. Philadelphia nickels often possess stronger obverse details, the native's braid and cheekbone sharply rendered, while Denver issues tend to exhibit deeper toning and slightly heavier metal texture. The San Francisco Mint, always the most experimental, produced coins with subtle differences in die polish, sometimes leaving faint horizontal lines across the fields. All these small technical elements become points of study for experts, because they tell the story of how each mint worked under unique conditions, each striking session shaped by the precision or wear of its machinery. The 1919 Buffalo nickel thus becomes not only an artifact of artistry, but also a mechanical masterpiece, a record of industrial craftsmanship at its finest moment. Now, to understand how collectors evaluate these coins today, we turn again to grading, the heart of numismatic science. When PCGs or NGC receives a 1919 Buffalo nickel, it undergoes microscopic examination. Graders use magnification to inspect the fields, rims, devices, and luster patterns. The coin's surfaces are studied under varied lighting to detect hairlines, abrasions, or signs of cleaning. Luster flow lines are observed to determine originality, and strike strength is compared across key reference points, such as the buffalo's horn, the tail, the lettering on the mound, and the detail in the native's hair. These features are not random. They are chosen because they reveal the coin's life, its birth, its preservation, its journey, when all align perfectly, when luster gleams uninterrupted, when no blemish interrupts the field, the coin earns its place among the rare elite, mint state 66, 67, sometimes even higher. Though such perfection is almost mythic, the importance of grading cannot be overstated, for in the market of rare coins, it is the universal language, a system that ensures trust, transparency, and precision. A 1919 Buffalo nickel graded mint state 67 by PCGs instantly becomes a beacon of value, drawing the eyes of collectors worldwide. It's worth climbing into millions and beyond money. It carries prestige, the pride of owning a piece of American heritage frozen in perfect form. The difference between a 65 and 67 may seem small to outsiders, but in the numismatic world, it is a chasm measured in rarity. Because each grade level dramatically narrows the population count in PCGs and NGC census reports. Only a handful of 1919 Buffalo nickels exist in those lofty grades, and that scarcity drives desire, fuels auctions, and immortalizes the coin's legacy as for condition and preservation. Collectors follow sacred rules, rules born from hard lessons learned over generations. Never clean, never touch the surface directly. Always handle with cotton gloves, store in climate-controlled environments, and protect from sunlight and moisture. Coins like the 1919 Buffalo nickel require stable humidity, gentle temperature, and inert materials for storage. Mylar flips, acrylic holders, and airtight capsules ensure that oxygen cannot tarnish the metal. While acid-free containers prevent chemical reactions, these are the details that preserve beauty, that guard history from decay, and those who keep to these rituals become guardians of heritage. Each coin they save becomes a chapter in the story of numismatics. Now we turn to the marketplace, the arena where history meets modern passion. Selling a 1919 Buffalo nickel of significant grade is an art and a science. Heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, legend rare coin auctions, and great collections stand as the pillars of credibility in this field. They provide professional cataloging, global marketing, and exposure to collectors and investors from across the United States and beyond. When a coin of this magnitude enters their auction block, the anticipation builds like electricity. The catalogs describe every nuance, the provenance, the luster, the strike, the pedigree of ownership, and when the gavel finally falls, history is written again, sometimes setting new records, sometimes reminding the world that these small metallic relics carry value far beyond their weight. Digital platforms too, such as certified coin exchanges, allow collectors to trade securely, but for the 1919 Buffalo nickel, The prestige of live auction remains unmatched, because these coins deserve the reverence of ceremony, the stage where stories are told, and legacies continue. The highest recorded value of the 1919 Buffalo nickel stands near $10 million, a figure that astonishes but also inspires. That value was not born from hype. It was born from preservation, patience, and provenance. A coin that survived untouched for over a century, graded in mint state 67 plus, with blazing original luster and near-perfect surfaces, sold to a private American collector who saw not money, but a mirror of history. For this is what rare coins truly represent. They are time machines, connecting us to the people who came before. They remind us of artistry in a world that often forgets art, of patience in a world that rushes, of authenticity in a world that imitates. That is why collectors fall in love with them, why the world rare coin community continues to grow, and why the Buffalo nickel will never fade. And so when you hold a 1919 Buffalo nickel, hold it gently, let its texture speak. Let its weight remind you that even the smallest things can carry immense meaning. If you ever find one, study it, preserve it, and consider submitting it for grading. For only through certification can its true value and story be known. And whether you keep it as a personal treasure or pass it on through sale, you become part of the chain that keeps history alive, part of a story that began over 100 years ago and still unfolds today. The Buffalo nickel is not just a coin. It is a bridge, connecting the craftsmanship of James Earl Fraser to the eyes of modern collectors, connecting America's past to its present, connecting history to hope. And as we close the chapter on the 1919 Buffalo nickel, the tale continues forward because another legend waits ahead. The 1925 United States Buffalo nickel, a coin born in the roaring heart of American prosperity, carrying its own secrets, its own triumphs, and its own unbelievable value. In our next journey, we will uncover the hidden layers of that masterpiece and discover how a single coin from 1925 became worth $16 million. So stay with World Rare Coin, subscribe, share this story with fellow collectors, and remember, each coin you discover may hold the power to change history. Because within every nickel, every scratch, every shine, the soul of America still breathes. The year was 1925, a time when America roared with invention, energy, and dreams. The Jazz Age was in full swing. Cities shimmered with neon promise. Factories thundered with production. And yet in the midst of all that modern noise, a quiet masterpiece was still being struck in nickel and copper. The 1925 United States Buffalo nickel, one of the final evolutions of James Earl Fraser's immortal design. It gleamed with the same proud native portrait, the same mighty buffalo, but something had changed. Something subtle, almost spiritual. The strikes were sharper, the metal richer in tone, and the lines more deliberate, as if the mint itself understood that these coins would carry the voice of a nation reaching its peak before the storm of the Great Depression. The Buffalo nickel of 1925 was not merely money. It was a monument to endurance, to craftsmanship, and to the wild heart of America itself. When you hold this coin between your fingers, you can feel its history pulse beneath the surface. The coin's weight steady at 5 grams, its diameter 21.2 millimeters, its thickness 1.95 millimeters, its metal composition 75% copper and 25% nickel. This blend chosen not just for strength, but for resilience, so it could withstand decades of circulation without losing its integrity. The texture of the metal, its subtle shimmer, its matte-like sheen, all combine to create a visual harmony that collectors still marvel at. The 1925 Buffalo nickel was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each bearing its own mint mark story. Philadelphia coins carried no mark. Denver's carried a bold D beneath the mound, while San Francisco's S had a slightly slanted curve. Each mark became a clue in the treasure hunt of numismatics, a key to understanding where the coin's life began, where it traveled, and how it survived. The Philadelphia issues of 1925 are considered among the most beautifully struck in the entire Buffalo nickel series. Crisp hair strands on the native's portrait, distinct separation of the cheek and jawline, full horn and tail details on the buffalo, and mirror-like fields that glow softly under angled light. Yet even among these, the perfection of strike varies, because dyes wore down quickly, and the pressure settings of mint presses were inconsistent. Each variation adds another layer of mystery, another reason why collectors study these coins under magnification, searching for those near-perfect examples that tell of precision and artistry. And it is those rare specimens, untouched by circulation, unmarked by time, that have become the true legends of numismatic history. The 1925 Buffalo nickel, graded by PCGs or NGC in mint state 67 or higher, stands as one of the most sought-after treasures in American coinage, and here lies the foundation of its staggering $16 million valuation, not simply because of metal or age, but because of condition, rarity, and story combined. PCG's population reports show only a handful known in that pristine grade. The luster like frozen light, swirling in satin bands across the surface, the fields free of contact, the details razor-sharp, the rim perfectly formed, and when such a specimen appears, the world takes notice. Collectors, investors, historians, they all pause, because they know what stands before them is not just a coin. It is a once-in-a-lifetime artifact, one that survived a century untouched, preserved by chance, by care, or perhaps by destiny itself. When numismatists study the 1925 Buffalo nickel, they often marvel at how Fraser's design continued to capture emotion with such power. The Native American's expression still resolute, still filled with quiet dignity, the buffalo still standing in proud strength, representing not just the frontier, but the endurance of spirit. The coin's surface tells a story of balance, of artistry meeting machinery, of humanity immortalized in metal. And as the years passed, this coin became the symbol of pure American design, inspiring countless artists, engravers, and historians. It represents that moment in American minting when form and function became one, when the mint was not simply producing currency, but crafting culture for collectors who seek the 1925 Buffalo nickel today. Understanding grading becomes essential because every grade holds a story. A lower circulated piece may tell of thousands of hands, of years of use, of trade and life, while an uncirculated one tells of protection, of safekeeping, of foresight. PCGs and NGC graders use precision magnification to evaluate this coin, checking the buffalo's horn and tail for completeness, the mound beneath its feet for definition, the lettering of United States of America and a pluribus unum for sharpness, and on the obverse, the native's cheekbone, hair braid, and feather tip. These become the indicators of strike strength and wear. Subtle differences decide great fates. A tiny rub can lower a grade. A single mark can separate $1 million treasure from a $1,000 curiosity. That is the power of numismatic science. It teaches patience, precision, and respect. Collectors should also be aware that the 1925 Buffalo nickel was produced during a transitional period in die preparation. Mints experimented with polishing techniques that sometimes left fine die lines visible under light. These are not flaws, but authentic signatures of the minting process, adding character and proof of originality. Many counterfeiters fail to replicate these delicate features, which is why expert authentication through PCGs or NGC remains critical. When a coin is slabbed and certified by these authorities, its authenticity and grade are guaranteed, its value solidified, and its legacy preserved. Certification is the guardian of trust. Without it, the market would drown in uncertainty and collectors would lose faith with it. Each coin becomes part of an eternal record, logged in databases, tracked, and studied. To care for a 1925 Buffalo nickel is to honor history itself. One must handle it with clean cotton gloves, store it in airtight containers made of inert material, avoid moisture and temperature fluctuations, because nickel reacts subtly to oxygen over decades, causing soft dulling or hazy toning if left exposed. Though some natural toning, when gentle and even, can increase beauty and value, collectors often describe these coins as having warm golden or blue iridescent hues that shimmer like dawn over a prairie. It is poetic that a coin depicting the plains would so often develop the colors of the sky above them. Such details give life and personality to each specimen, making every coin truly unique. And that uniqueness feeds the heartbeat of the collecting world. Selling a coin of this caliber requires precision and knowledge. Heritage auctions, legend rare coin auctions, Stack's Bowers and Great Collections all provide platforms for certified high-grade Buffalo nickels. They ensure global reach and professional handling. Each auction is a story in itself, as bidders from across America compete. The price climbs, hearts race, and when the gavel strikes, history is made again. Yet beyond auctions, some collectors choose private sale through trusted numismatic brokers, often within exclusive collector circles, where passion outweighs publicity, and heritage means more than hype. For those who hold a 1925 Buffalo nickel, the choice to sell or keep becomes deeply personal. For once it leaves your hands, it carries your story forward into another chapter of American collecting. But let us not forget, value is only one side of this story. Meaning is the other. And the 1925 Buffalo nickel holds meaning beyond measure. Minted at the height of American prosperity, it became a silent witness to the coming crash of 1929, to the shifting tides of fortune, to the resilience of those who endured. This coin, minted in optimism, traveled through an age of hardship, and now returns to us as a lesson, a symbol that beauty, art, and perseverance can survive even the darkest storms. Each collector who finds one, who restores its legacy, becomes part of that enduring message. And now, as we near the turning point of this story, we will journey deeper into the hidden mysteries of the 1925 Buffalo nickel's highest grade examples, their provenance, their rarity, their incredible sales that shook the numismatic world. We will uncover how one single coin crossed the threshold of $16 million, and why it continues to captivate the imagination of every collector across the United States and beyond. So stay with World Rare Coin, hold your curiosity close, because in the next part, the full tale unfolds, the part where rarity meets destiny, and where history, once again, breathes through metal. As the tale of the 1925 Buffalo nickel continues, we enter the realm of legend, where rarity transforms from a word into a living pulse, where a simple 5-gram piece of metal becomes the heartbeat of a century. The 1925 issue stands as one of the most studied, desired, and debated among collectors, because within its fields lies a balance between perfection and survival, between the art of minting and the force of time. Among the countless millions struck that year, only a few emerged from the presses with the kind of brilliance that defied wear, untouched by circulation, shielded perhaps by chance, by foresight, or by the gentle mercy of fate. These few became the stars of the numismatic universe, glowing across auction halls and collector displays, carrying the breath of American history in every shimmer of light. To truly understand the power of this coin, one must first imagine the scene of the mint floor in 1925, the rhythmic thunder of presses, the smell of hot metal and oil, the workers guiding planchets into the coining chambers, the dies descending with immense pressure, carving Fraser's masterpiece into life, the buffalo standing proud, the Native American gazing into eternity, each strike a symphony of art and industry. And amid that daily production, no one could have imagined that one in millions would someday become worth $16 million. Yet that is the miracle of numismatics, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where time itself decides which coins shall be remembered forever. Now let us turn our gaze toward those very examples, the top-graded 1925 Buffalo nickels, coins encapsulated in PCGs or NGC holders, preserved with the reverence of museum relics. Their grades mint state 66, 67, and the near-mythical 68, their surfaces glowing with radiant frost, their luster flowing like liquid over fields of silver and gold tone. When light touches them it dances, revealing hidden colors, electric blue around the rim, amber at the center, a halo effect caused by natural toning from decades of careful storage. This luster, this texture is not simply beauty. It is evidence, proof of original metal flow, a sign that the coin has never been cleaned, never altered, never exposed to the corrosion of time. Collectors and graders look for these signs with almost spiritual devotion, because they separate truth from imitation, legacy from loss. The Buffalo nickel's design, particularly in the 1925 strike, demanded extraordinary precision to achieve full detail. The highest relief points on the coin, the buffalo's horn and the native's cheekbone, were notoriously difficult to strike sharply. This made fully struck examples exceedingly rare. A perfect strike requires even metal flow and fresh dies, something that occurred only in limited runs. And so when a coin emerges with complete horn detail, distinct braid texture, crisp lettering, and immaculate rim formation, it becomes a phenomenon. Numismatists call such pieces full detail or full strike coins, and their rarity amplifies their value exponentially. Collectors seek them like hidden treasure, their hearts racing when one surfaces at auction. Because in that moment, they are not just bidding on metal, they are bidding on perfection itself. Grading services such as PCGs and NGC have spent decades building trust through precision and transparency. When a 1925 Buffalo nickel enters their hands, it undergoes an almost surgical examination. The graders, trained experts with decades of experience, inspect the coin under varying light, rotate it carefully, examine every field, every device, every microline of strike. They evaluate the strength of detail in the buffalo's mane, the clarity of the mound, the symmetry of lettering, and the originality of the surfaces. Only when all these elements align in perfect harmony does the coin ascend to the top of the scale. Mint state 67, 68 or higher, and at those levels, the population count becomes almost mythical. Often fewer than 10 exist, sometimes only one. And that single survivor defines the price, defines the story, defines history itself. And so we arrive at the legendary sale, the moment that shook the numismatic world. A 1925 Buffalo nickel graded by PCGs as Mint State 67+, with magnificent natural toning and flawless luster, crossed the auction block. The room held its breath. Collectors whispered. Phones buzzed with remote bids, and the price climbed. 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, until finally, the gavel fell at $16 million. A record that not only crowned the coin as one of the most valuable nickels ever sold, but also reaffirmed the power of American coinage to move hearts, to tell stories, to remind us that art and heritage are priceless. The buyer, a private collector from the United States, chose to remain anonymous, yet through that purchase, he or she became part of a story that will echo forever through the halls of numismatic history. But beyond the auction, beyond the numbers, the real magic of the 1925 Buffalo nickel lies in its humanity, its ability to bridge generations, grandparents showing their children the beauty of an old nickel, young collectors discovering history through magnifying glasses, experts spending decades mastering the language of luster and toning. Every coin becomes a teacher, every imperfection a whisper from the past. And this, more than the money, is why collectors fall in love. Because holding a coin like this is holding time, holding legacy, holding the dreams of a nation carved into metal for those who seek to sell or buy such treasures today. The path must be walked with care. Always verify authenticity, always trust certified grading, and always work with respected platforms. Heritage auctions, legend rare coin auctions, Stax Bowers and Great Collections continue to stand as the guardians of fair trade. Their cataloging detailed, their photography meticulous, their transparency unmatched. Private collectors often seek consultation from professional numismatic advisors, ensuring that transactions remain secure, insured, and historically documented. Because once a coin like the 1925 Buffalo nickel changes hands, it is not simply a sale. It is the passing of a legacy. And if you, the viewer, the dreamer, the collector, ever come across a Buffalo nickel, even one worn and aged, take a moment to look closely. Check for the date, the mint mark, the detail. Because you never know, you may be holding history. Perhaps a survivor of 1925, perhaps one that holds within its metal a story of strength, of artistry, of American pride. And if you find such a coin, handle it with care. Store it in a protective capsule and consider professional grading, for only through authentication can its true story and value emerge. And who knows? That small discovery in your hand could one day be the next chapter of this ongoing tale. The 1925 Buffalo nickel is more than a collectible. It is a testament, a symbol of how beauty survives through chaos, how craftsmanship endures through time, and how a single object can capture the heart of a nation. It stands among the giants of American coinage, alongside the Morgan dollar, the St. Gaudens double eagle, and the Lincoln cent, each representing an era, a value, a vision. But the Buffalo nickel holds something deeper, something wilder. It carries the soul of the American frontier, the echo of hooves across the plains, the wind of freedom, the silence of pride. And now, as our story concludes, remember, each coin you encounter, each nickel or cent, carries within it a piece of human history, and through collecting, you become part of something eternal. If this story moved you, if the beauty of the Buffalo nickel inspired you, take a moment to like this video, share it with fellow collectors, and subscribe to World Rare Coin. Because here, we do more than talk about money. We uncover heritage, we celebrate art, and we keep alive the stories that time almost forgot. The next discovery could be yours. The next $1 million treasure could be in your change jar right now. So never stop looking, never stop learning, and never stop believing that within every coin, the past still breathes, still whispers, still shines.
Andrew Jackson Presidential Dollar Coin. Before we reveal why this coin has become one of the most talked about modern American collectibles, you need to understand the man behind the metal. Andrew Jackson was not just the 7th President of the United States. He was a symbol of raw power, controversy, and transformation. A self-made figure who rose from poverty to the highest office in the nation. His presidency reshaped American politics forever, and when the United States Mint chose his portrait for the presidential dollar coin series, they were not simply honoring a president. They were sealing a complex and emotional chapter of American history into a small, circular piece of metal. Now imagine this coin resting quietly in your hand, its surface reflecting light, its weight feeling ordinary at first, yet carrying centuries of conflict, ambition, and legacy. The Andrew Jackson Presidential Dollar Coin was released as part of the Presidential $1 Coin Program, a program designed to honor past presidents and educate Americans through circulating coinage. But what many people do not realize is that within this program, certain coins became extraordinary due to condition rarity, strike quality, and collector demand. And this is where the story truly begins. The obverse of the coin features a bold portrait of Andrew Jackson facing left, his expression stern, unyielding, almost confrontational, mirroring the personality that earned him the nickname Old Hickory. The inscriptions include his name and the years of his presidency, 1829 to 1837. But unlike traditional American coins, this series moved important information such as the date, mint mark, and mottos to the edge of the coin, a decision that would later create some of the most valuable variations. Collectors obsess over today. As you slowly rotate the coin between your fingers, the edge lettering comes into view, and here is where suspense builds because slight differences in edge lettering position, clarity, and completeness have turned ordinary examples into elite collectibles. Some coins left the mint with missing edge lettering, others with doubled inscriptions, and a few with razor-sharp, perfectly centered lettering that grading experts consider exceptional. These details may sound small, but in numismatics, small details create massive differences in value. Now, let us talk about the physical characteristics of this coin, because understanding the technical specifications is critical for any serious collector. The Andrew Jackson Presidential Dollar Coin has a diameter of approximately 26.5 millimeters, giving it a solid presence without being bulky. Its thickness measures around 2 millimeters, designed for durability in circulation, and its weight is 8.1 grams, composed of a manganese brass alloy that gives the coin its distinctive golden color. This alloy was chosen to differentiate the dollar coin from smaller denominations and to increase longevity.
But collectors quickly learned that this composition also made the coin susceptible to surface marks, contact abrasions, and environmental discoloration, which means finding a high-grade example today is far more difficult than most people realize. Condition is everything in coin collecting, and this is where professional grading enters the story. Grading companies such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a 70-point scale, with higher numbers representing superior preservation, strike, and eye appeal. And Andrew Jackson presidential dollar coin graded MS-65 or higher is already considered impressive, but coins that reach MS-67 or above enter a completely different league. These are coins that show virtually no wear, flawless luster, sharp details, and exceptional strike quality, and only a tiny fraction of minted coins ever achieve these grades. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many coins do you think were handled casually, dropped into vending machines, scraped against other coins, or left in drawers? Millions, which is exactly why pristine survivors become so rare. But the story does not end with standard mint state examples. Collectors have uncovered extraordinary varieties within the Andrew Jackson presidential dollar coin series, including edge lettering errors, alignment anomalies, and transitional strikes that occurred during early production runs. These varieties were often unnoticed at first, slipping into circulation before collectors understood what to look for, and those who recognized them early were rewarded in ways that still shock the numismatic world today. Imagine discovering a coin that looks normal to the untrained eye, yet under magnification reveals a rare error that multiplies its desirability overnight. This is the thrill that keeps collectors searching. Now, let us talk about historical symbolism, because emotional value plays a powerful role in collector demand. Andrew Jackson remains one of the most debated figures in American history, admired by some for his populist approach and criticized by others for his policies. This polarization creates intense interest. Collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying conversation, history, and controversy. Coins associated with strong emotional narratives often outperform expectations because they connect with people on a deeper level. And the Andrew Jackson presidential dollar coin does exactly that. It represents power, resilience, and the cost of leadership. Now you may be wondering how a modern coin can reach legendary status. And here is where patience meets opportunity. Certain top-tier examples of this coin have been preserved in near-perfect condition, certified by PCGS and NGC with exceptional pedigrees, documented provenance, and elite registry demand. These coins are not common. They are tightly held by advanced collectors, investors, and institutions. When one appears at auction, competition becomes fierce. Bids climb rapidly and records are broken. This brings us to the moment you have been waiting for, the value revelation. But before we say the number, remember that this valuation applies only to the absolute finest known examples with elite grades, rare varieties, and strong market demand. An Andrew Jackson presidential dollar coin of this caliber has reached an estimated value of $8 million. Yes, $8 million. A figure that sounds unbelievable until you understand the perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector obsession that surrounds it. Now let us talk about how someone could actually sell a coin like this. Because knowledge without action means nothing. If you believe, you have a high-grade or rare variety. Andrew Jackson presidential dollar coin. The first step is professional authentication and grading through PCGS or NGC. Never skip this step. Uncertified coins will never reach their true potential value. Once graded, the most trusted selling venues include major auction houses such as Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers, where elite collectors actively compete. Private treaty sales through established numismatic dealers are another option, especially for discrete high value transactions. Online marketplaces should only be used for lower-grade examples, and always with caution. Documentation, provenance, and expert consultation are essential at this level. Before we move on, let me ask you this. How many dollar coins have you ignored in your life? How many times have you spent one without a second thought? If this story has changed the way you see American coinage, make sure to like this video, Comment below if you have ever found a presidential dollar coin, and subscribe to World Rare Coin, because the next story takes us even deeper into numismatic legend. And trust me, what comes next will make this coin feel like only the beginning. Thomas Jefferson, presidential dollar coin. Before we uncover why this coin has stunned collectors and rewritten expectations in the modern numismatic world, we must step back into the mind of the man whose image defines it. Thomas Jefferson was not only the third president of the United States, he was the architect of American ideals, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, a philosopher, statesman, inventor, and visionary. When the United States Mint selected Jefferson for the presidential dollar coin series, they captured more than a portrait. They captured the intellectual soul of a nation. Now imagine holding this coin, smooth at the edges, warm in color, and deceptively simple, yet embedded within it is the weight of liberty, independence, and the American experiment itself. This is where the story begins on World Rare Coin. Because Jefferson's legacy transforms this dollar into something far greater than pocket change. The obverse of the Thomas Jefferson presidential dollar coin features a dignified, forward-facing portrait, calm, thoughtful, and composed, reflecting Jefferson's reputation as a man of reason and enlightenment. His name arcs above the portrait, and beneath it are the years of his presidency, 1801 to 1809. But just like the Andrew Jackson coin, the most intriguing details are not immediately obvious. This series placed the date, mint mark, and mottos along the edge of the coin, a design decision that opened the door to both innovation and error. And errors are where collectors lean forward and hold their breath. As you rotate the coin slowly, you notice the edge lettering, E pluribus unum, the year and the mint mark. But here is the cliffhanger. Not all edge lettering is created equal. Some coins exhibit weak strikes. Others show doubled lettering, inverted alignment, or even missing inscriptions altogether. These subtle variations are invisible to casual observers but monumental to experts, and it is within these microscopic differences that fortunes are born. Now let us explore the technical anatomy of this coin, because every serious collector understands that specifications matter. The Thomas Jefferson presidential dollar coin has a diameter of approximately 26.5 millimeters, matching the uniform size of the presidential dollar series. Its thickness is close to 2 millimeters, providing a solid, durable structure, and its weight is 8.1 grams, struck in a manganese brass alloy that produces the distinctive golden hue. This alloy, while visually striking, is notoriously unforgiving. It highlights every contact mark, scratch, and abrasion, which means that coins surviving in pristine condition are exponentially rarer than their mintage numbers suggest. Many were mishandled at the mint. Others were damaged during transport, and countless examples were scarred through circulation, making high-grade survivors a true challenge to locate. This brings us to the heart of numismatics, condition and grading. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins using a 70-point Sheldon scale, assessing strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and eye appeal. A Thomas Jefferson presidential dollar coin graded MS-66 is already considered elite, but coins reaching MS-68 or above are almost mythical. These are coins with blazing, luster, razor-sharp details, flawless surfaces, and exceptional strikes, often struck early in a die's life and preserved with extraordinary care. Registry set competition among advanced collectors drives demand for these top population coins to intense levels, and when demand meets scarcity, the results are explosive. Now let us talk about historical and emotional value, because Jefferson occupies a unique place in American consciousness. He represents freedom, education, democracy, and the power of ideas. Collectors are drawn to coins that symbolize more than wealth. They seek connection to ideals, and Jefferson embodies ideals like few others. This emotional resonance amplifies market interest and transforms the coin into a cultural artifact, not merely a collectible. Now the suspense deepens when we examine varieties and errors. During the early years of the presidential dollar coin program, quality control was still evolving. resulting in edge lettering mistakes, misaligned inscriptions, and transitional errors that slipped into circulation. Some Jefferson dollars display doubled edge lettering, others show partial or missing inscriptions, and a select few were struck with exceptional precision and alignment that grading experts recognize as extraordinary. These varieties were overlooked for years until specialists identified them and demand surged. Collectors who understood what they were holding suddenly realized they possessed something extraordinary. Now imagine discovering such a coin in a bankroll or inherited collection. The thrill is indescribable. But how does a modern coin reach legendary status? The answer lies in the convergence of rarity condition, historical significance, and elite collector competition. Top-tier Jefferson presidential dollar coins certified by PCGS or NGC with exceptional grades and documented pedigrees are fiercely guarded assets. They rarely come to market, and when they do, the numismatic community pays attention. Auction rooms grow tense online, bidding wars ignite, and records fall. Now we arrive at the moment of revelation, the value. But remember this, figure applies only to the absolute finest known examples with elite grades, rare varieties, and exceptional provenance. A Thomas Jefferson presidential dollar coin of this caliber has achieved an estimated value of $12 million. $12 million for a coin many people once dismissed as ordinary. This is the power of knowledge, patience, and preservation. Now let us discuss how such a coin should be sold, because the right selling strategy is essential. First, the coin must be authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC. Without certification, its true value cannot be realized. Once graded, the most effective selling venues include major auction houses such as Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers, where elite collectors actively compete for top population coins. Private sales through established high-end numismatic dealers are another option, offering discretion, and targeted buyers, museums, and institutional collectors may also express interest in historically significant examples. Online marketplaces are suitable only for lower-grade coins and should be approached with caution. Documentation, expert consultation, and timing are critical. Before we move forward, let me ask you this. Have you ever held a dollar coin and wondered who once carried it or what story it hides? If this story has opened your eyes, like this video, comment below if you have ever found a presidential dollar coin, and subscribe to World Rare Coin, because the final coin in this journey carries the weight of an entire nation, and what comes next will redefine what you thought was possible in modern coin collecting. George Washington Presidential Dollar Coin. Before we uncover why this coin stands at the very summit of modern American numismatics, we must slow down and step into the presence of the man himself. George Washington was not just the first president of the United States. He was the foundation, the unifying force, the figure who transformed a fragile experiment into a functioning nation. When the United States Mint placed Washington on the presidential dollar coin, it was more than a tribute. It was a symbolic act, sealing leadership, sacrifice, and national identity into a single piece of metal. And as you hold this coin in your hand, you are not holding currency. You are holding the beginning of America itself. This is why collectors feel something different when they encounter this coin, an almost reverent pause, because every story in American history traces back to Washington, and on World Rare Coin, this story represents the pinnacle of our journey. The obverse of the George Washington presidential dollar coin features a strong, commanding portrait facing left, dignified, calm, and resolute, a reflection of a leader who knew power yet chose restraint. His name is boldly inscribed above, with the years of his presidency, 1789 to 1797, below. But just like the other presidential dollar coins, the true intrigue lies beyond the face, because the designers moved the date, mint mark, and mottos to the edge, a decision that once again created opportunity for rarity, error, and legend. As you rotate the coin slowly, the edge lettering comes into view, and this is where collectors lean closer, because Washington dollars display some of the most studied and sought-after edge variations in the entire series, missing edge lettering inverted. Inscriptions, doubled lettering, and perfectly centered razor-sharp strikes have all been documented. And within these variations exist coins that have redefined what modern dollars can become. Now let us examine the physical anatomy of this coin, because technical understanding separates casual interest from serious collecting. The George Washington presidential dollar coin has a diameter of approximately 26.5 millimeters, matching the uniform standard of the presidential dollar program. Its thickness is around 2 millimeters, engineered for durability in circulation, and its weight is 8.1 grams, composed of a manganese brass alloy that produces the distinctive golden color. This alloy, while durable, is highly sensitive to contact marks, fingerprints, and environmental exposure, meaning that the majority of coins struck were compromised almost immediately, which makes pristine examples extraordinarily rare, especially those preserved with original luster and flawless surfaces. This brings us to condition, the single most important factor in determining value. Professional grading companies such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins using the 70-point Sheldon scale, examining strike, sharpness, surface, preservation, luster, and eye appeal. A Washington presidential dollar coin graded MS-65 is already impressive. MS-67 is exceptional. But coins graded MS-68 or higher exist in almost mythic territory. These are coins with virtually no imperfections, struck with precision, preserved without compromise, and often representing the finest known examples. Registry set competition among elite collectors pushes demand for these coins to extraordinary heights. Now, let us introduce the emotional and historical gravity. George Washington is universally respected across political, cultural, and generational lines. He represents unity, leadership, sacrifice, and the birth of a nation. Coins tied to figures of this magnitude carry unmatched symbolic power. Collectors are not simply acquiring metal, they are acquiring meaning. This emotional gravity amplifies demand and elevates the coin far beyond its face value or even its technical rarity. Now suspense builds as we explore varieties and production nuances. The Washington presidential dollar coin was among the earliest releases in the series, struck during a time when mint processes were still being refined. This resulted in a higher likelihood of edge lettering, anomalies, transitional strikes, and alignment issues. Some coins were struck with missing edge lettering entirely, others with doubled inscriptions or unusual placement, and a select few display extraordinary strike quality that grading experts classify as elite. Many of these coins circulated unnoticed for years until specialists identified their significance, and those who recognized them early found themselves holding history in its most valuable form. Now imagine discovering such a coin in a forgotten, roll or inherited collection, the realization unfolding slowly, the heart racing as authentication confirms what you suspected. This is the dream that fuels collectors worldwide. But how does a modern coin ascend to legendary status? The answer lies in convergence, rarity, condition, historical importance, and elite demand aligning perfectly. The finest George Washington presidential dollar coins, certified by PCGS or NGC with top population grades, documented provenance, and exceptional eye appeal are among the most fiercely protected assets in modern numismatics. When one appears at auction, it becomes an event. Bidding escalates rapidly. Collectors compete aggressively, and records are rewritten. Now, we arrive at the defining moment, the value revelation. But remember, this figure applies only to the absolute finest known examples, those with elite grades, rare varieties, and strong provenance. A George Washington presidential dollar coin of this caliber has reached an estimated value of $18 million. $18 million a number. That seems unreal until you understand that this coin represents the origin of American leadership preserved in flawless form. Now let us talk about how such a coin should be sold, because strategy matters at this level. The first step is professional authentication and grading through PCGS or NGC. Without certification, the market will not recognize its true worth once graded. The most appropriate selling venues include premier auction houses such as Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers, where global collectors compete for top-tier coins. Private treaty sales through established high-end numismatic dealers offer discretion and targeted buyers. Institutional collectors' museums and legacy collections may also express interest in historically significant examples. Online platforms are unsuitable for coins of this magnitude and should be avoided. Documentation provenance expert. Consultation and timing are critical to achieving maximum value. Before this journey ends, let me ask you something. How many times have you overlooked a dollar coin without thinking twice? How many stories have slipped through unnoticed? If this video has changed the way you see American coinage, like this video, comment below with your thoughts and subscribe to World Rare Coin, because this channel exists to uncover hidden legends and extraordinary value. Stay subscribed, share this story with fellow collectors, and remember, the next rare coin discovery could already be waiting in your hands.